Hello, welcome back. So in this part, we will discuss more about torsion. So torsion may be induced in a reinforced concrete member in various ways during the process of load transfer in a structural system. So basically, based on the process of load transfer, torsion can be classified into two categories. One is the primary torsion and the second one is the secondary torsion. Primary torsion is also known as the equilibrium torsion, and secondary torsion is known as compatibility torsion. So we will first talk about the primary torsion. Well, generally, this primary torsion, as I said, it is known as equilibrium torsion also. So this torsion is induced by an eccentric loading and equilibrium condition. And I mean, equilibrium condition is sufficient to determine the amount of torsional moment. So I will show you this condition with the help of diagram. In this case, if we consider this cantilevered shell roof, and you can see this cantilever shell roof is connected with this beam. Okay, so the self weight of this cantilever shell roof or even the external load on this cantilever shell roof, what it will do is, as you can see, it is connected with this beam, so it will generate a moment along the main axis of this beam. So as you can see, if I make the resultant load of the load which is subjected to this cantilever, for example, this is the resultant load P, and the line of action of this P is this one, and you can see this is the axis of this beam. So the distance between this and this, if I say that this is E, then the moment which is generated along the axis, along the main axis of this beam, it will be P into E, and this moment will be known as torsional moment, and generally we represent torsional moment as T. So the representation of the torsional moment subjected because of this cantilever shell roof, you can see here in this beam. So these curved arrow, they are actually showing the torque acting on this beam. So this beam will try to rotate like this because of this load, this resultant load. So as you can see, there is no other way. This load is transferred to this beam, and this beam will resist this moment and will be subjected to the torque or torsion in this case. So this is the primary torque which is subjected to this beam, and therefore we have to design this beam for this torsion which is subjected because of this external load. And if we look at the torsional diagram, how torsion is varying in this case. So this is the torsional diagram, and with this diagram we can say that torsion is high at the ends and torsion is minimum at the midspan of this beam. So maximum torsion will occur at the ends of beam and minimum will occur at the midspan of the beam. So as I said, this type of torsion, it occurs as the structure tries to maintain equilibrium. And generally this torsion, which is generated like in this case, it doesn't depend on the torsional stiffness of the element. For example, this load, this moment is subjected to this beam. So this torque T, it is not dependent on the torsional stiffness of this beam. It will be acting here, and so we have to design this beam for this torque. Similarly, if we talk about the secondary torsion is also known as the compatibility torsion. Compatibility torsion is the torsion which is induced by the need for the member to undergo an angle of twist to maintain deformation compatibility. And the resulting twisting moment depends on the torsional stiffness of the member. So as I said, primary torsion doesn't depend on the torsional stiffness, but this compatibility torsion depends on the torsional stiffness of the member. I will explain this with the help of example. For example, in this case, you can see beam AC. beam AC is the main beam because it is supported on the vertical column. Similarly, the beam DB is a secondary beam because it is supporting on beam AC and beam EF. So when a secondary beam is subjected to a vertical load, so what will happen? Secondary beam will try to bend. I mean, it will be bending because of this vertical load. And in this bending process, at the junction where it is connected with the beam AC, at this junction, there will be a twisting moment. There will be a twisting moment which will try to balance this bending. So how much this theta b, as you can see, this is twisting occurring at this junction. So this twisting is angle theta b. So this theta b will be higher or lower. It depends on the torsional stiffness of member AC. Okay, so if member AC is having higher torsional stiffness, it will attract more theta b. Okay, so basically here, what is happening, the moment redistribution can occur here. For example, if we want that member AC should subject less torsion, so in that case, what we can do is we will design this joint such that it will not transfer the moment of this force to this beam AC significantly. So in that case, what we can do is we can design this joint as, say, as a pin joint. So basically, we will design this beam. This will transfer only the reaction as a force only, not the moment. So therefore, redistribution of moment can occur here, and the torsion here, which is developing at this beam AC, it depends on the torsional stiffness. Well, generally, as I said, it is dependent on torsional stiffness. Generally, we don't consider this secondary torsion in our design because IS code controls this compatibility torsion by the provision of minimum shear reinforcement. So generally, we provide minimum shear reinforcement in the beam, and this minimum shear reinforcement clause generally take care of this secondary torsion. So generally, we design our beam only for the primary torsion. Now, if we talk about the behavior of plain concrete under the torsion, for example, in this case, you can see this beam is, say, when the beam is subjected to the torsion. As you can see, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and this is z-axis. So torsion is occurring along the z-axis, and generally bending occurs along about the x-axis. So bending will occur like this, and torsion is occurring like this. So this torsion generally induce the shear stress. So here I also write here, torsion induces shear stress and cause warping of non-circular section. So the most feasible cross section for resisting the torsion is the circular section. And along the circular section, along the surface of the circular section, the torsional distribution is uniform. But in case of non-circular section, like in case of beam, which is, say, rectangular in shape, so in that case, when torsion will try to twist this beam, what will happen? It will induce the shear stress, and generally shear stress will be maximum along the longer face of the beam. So in this case, you can see that shear stress distribution. So shear stress or torsional effect will be zero at the center of the beam, and as we go towards the surface of beam, it will be higher. So it will be higher. As you can see, the torsion will occur like this. The it will induce shear stress like this. So this is actually the shear flow which I am showing you. So longer is the surface, longer is the face, higher will be the shear flow, and higher will be the shear stress. So as you can see, the flow of shear along the longer face is higher, and therefore along the longer face it will be maximum, subjected to maximum shear force. Similarly, on the shorter face, say in case of beam, it will have shear force, but I mean shear stress, but it will be in lesser than this face. And at the corner, shear stress will be 0. And because of that, here it is 0, but on the surface it is having some magnitude. So this corner will warp. It will be warped. So as I said, the maximum torsional shear stress occurs at the middle of the wider face. So this is the wider face and this is the narrow face. And the state of pure shear develop direct tensile and compressive stress along the diagonal direction. So as you can see, now how cracks will occur in the beam because of the torsion. So as you can see, torsional crack will occur diagonally. You can see here. So this is the crack condition here. So on each face, if we take the element, so you can see if we take this element of the beam, you can see it is subjected to the shear force, and this shear force will lead to the failure, I mean will lead to the crack because of the diagonal tension. So you can see here, this shear force is trying to have two effects. One is diagonal tension and other one is diagonal compression. So because of this, you can see it will try to stretch this beam like this, and therefore the crack will occur like this. Similarly, if I take element here also, so there also the element will be like this, and therefore it will break the surface like this. So this is actually the principal plane along which the failure is occurring. So failure will be diagonal. So this one phase. So it will occur diagonal generally at 45 degree. Ideally it should be 45 degree, but it may be less than 45 degree or more than 45 degree depending on the bending moment along the about the x-axis. So that also comes into this picture. And because of this torsional behavior, as I said that the cracks will occur spirally. So because you can see here it is occurring at 45 degree, the crack in the beam will occur at generally at 45 degree, and if we plot all the cracks, it will be like a spiral cracks. So to understand what kind of reinforcement we should provide to resist for the torsion, we need to study the failure behavior of the beam. So in this case, you can see this beam is subjected to the torsion, and you can see all the cracks are occurring like a spiral crack. So you can see here, this beam is subjected to torsion and the crack occurs because of the torsion like this spiral cracks. Now to resist, to provide the reinforcement and to resist against these cracks, we generally provide two types of reinforcement. In this case, you can see one is along the length of beam. So you can see this bar is along the length of beam, and this is along the cross section of the beam. So this is the stirrups and longitudinal bar. Generally we provide two type of reinforcement to resist the torsional effect. Ideally, we should provide reinforcement in the spiral form, but providing reinforcement in the spiral form is very difficult in the practical condition. It is very difficult to provide, and therefore we provide reinforcement in two forms. One as along the longitudinal direction of the beam, like this is the beam. So we provide reinforcement like this, and the other reinforcement is the spiral. Sorry, not spiral, as the stirrups. So basically we will be having longitudinal reinforcement along the length of beam and stirrups across the, stirrups along the transverse direction of the beam. So this kind of reinforcement generally we provide in this. Talking about the modes of failure due to torsion, generally we study skew bending theory to study the modes of failure of torsion. And as I said, that torsion occurs in combination with the shear and bending. So if I show you the failure mechanism, in this case, you can see if we consider this beam, so you can see torsion will occur along this direction like this. Similarly, bending will occur along this direction like this. Now, the resultant of this and this, it will actually be along this plane. So, resultant of this moment and this moment will occur along like this. And because of this moment, the magnitude of this moment depends on the magnitude of TU and MU. So, based on the magnitude, the interaction, there are basically three types of failure. One is mode 1 failure. So in this is also known as modified bending failure. Well, this kind of failure generally occurs when the value of mu is higher or in dominance. So when mu is in dominance, in that case this kind of failure will occur. Also when the beam is having wider width, when the width of beam is higher than the depth, then also this kind of behavior will occur. So in this kind of failure, compression zone will be on the top face, and compression zone will be on top, and tension will occur in the lower portion of the beam. Similarly, if we talk about the lateral bending failure, this failure will occur when the depth of beam is very much higher than the width. So in that case, this second type of failure will occur, and in this case you can see the compression and tension phase changes. So compression will occur on one phase and tension will occur on the other phase. Similarly, in the third case, this kind of failure can also occur, and this kind of failure will occur when the compression zone is on the lower portion and the tension is in the upper portion. Basically, when the tension reinforcement is less, then this kind of failure can occur. So maybe in the case of cantilever beam, this kind of failure can occur. So these are the three types of failure. So that is the modes of failure due to torsion. So we will discuss our discussion in the next part. Thank you.